Happy to. Thank you, Renee.
This meeting is being recorded.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome. I'm going to share my screen.
Thank you.
My name is Hagen Gunderson. I'm the Division Director for Division D, and welcome to the Division D Club Officer Training. This is the agenda. We'll be at it about 2 hours today, this evening, and we will be recording, so just a heads up. You know, in the industry, we're facing a big challenge, recruiting, engaging, and training employees. We have some of that challenge in Toastmasters as well. Although Toastmasters does a pretty good job in spite of it. Membership is up 2.1% nationally, and over 74,000 education achievement awards have been issued this year. So we understand as Toastmasters the importance of recruiting, engaging our members, and achieving educational goals. And that's what tonight's training is about. We've got 2 speakers, a group panel, and a question and answer. And there will be lots of opportunity to share your insight as well. So we're looking forward to the training and glad that you're here. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Atiana.
Welcome, everyone, fellow Toastmasters. My name is Atiana Beck, and currently I'm the president of Centurion Club, and I'm the vice president of public relations for Skills Club. Today, I have the honor of introducing one of our speakers today, David Dickey. And he did send me his bio and his introduction. And David has been a member of Cass County Toastmasters since the fall of 2020. He has served as Sergeant of Arms and is now the current VP of Public Relations. David is married to his wife, Carla, and is a father of 6 children. He is an entrepreneur owning and operating 5 active businesses. His hobbies include tractor pulls, snowmobiling, oh, somebody's got the news on, and deer hunting. Toastmasters has had a tremendous impact on his professional career. One key factor Toastmasters has shown him is to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Please help me in welcoming David Dickey.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Atiana, for that introduction. Well, it's my pleasure tonight to present. Can everybody hear me okay? Should I speak louder, softer? I'm okay. Perfect. I will
hear you.
Share my screen and we will get going. All right, am I up? Wonderful. So I will be speaking on member motivation and engagement for tonight's training. My introduction. The ongoing success of Toastmasters is defined by the success of each individual member. Utilizing pathways and the curriculum that we can follow with that is the way we can accomplish goals, which then will refer to our success to our club. And we can see this with clubs that make pathways a priority. You can see that they have strong memberships. They're thriving. They're putting to use the tools Toastmasters supplies to us. And the Toastmasters International website, if you haven't familiarized with it yet or utilized the resources it has on it, I strongly encourage you to do that as well. Also, the reference the District 78 new member onboarding guide and is a very good practical resource. I utilize that for a lot of my information I'm going to be covering tonight, along with pulling our experiences I have at Cass County Toastmasters into the presentation. I'm going to be covering 6 steps of onboarding with new club members. One being recruiting, potential members, guests at club meetings, new members once they come on board, and then the onboarding and mentoring. And then also with the importance of celebrating achievements. Recruitment. This is something I would like to touch on. I am not sure how many clubs utilize Google, especially the Google business page. Cass County Toastmasters has seen an increase of guests coming to our meetings, being able to, if you went on Google and typed in Fargo public speaking, Cass County Toastmasters would come up. The nice thing about the business page on Google, it has our address, it has a phone number, it gives you pictures, we have reviews. I would encourage, if you do make a Google business page, have all your members leave a good review and comments. So when people are traveling through town, they know, I brought that up for an example. We've had members that are coming in hotels. They are active Toastmasters, but across the country, and this is the way they find us. They Google, public speaking or Toastmasters in Fargo. We come up, and they have all the information they need to pop into our meeting on Friday mornings. Second comment too I want to make about the Google reviews. The more reviews we have and the higher ratings we have, we'll be coming up in the search engines even higher over other public speaking organizations. It is very simple to get this set up. You can start with a Google search of how to set up a business profile in Google. If you literally Google that, it'll bring you to the steps needed to create your business profile for Toastmasters at your club. If anybody would like help doing this, please reach out to me personally, shoot me an email, and I can reply with an email so you know who to reach out to. I've done this multiple times for my businesses, and I helped set it up here for Cass County Toastmasters. For potential members, some ideas to consider. Sharing the website, our online information that we have access to. But the main thing is telling everybody, new members, potential members, about your personal story. What has Toastmasters done for you? I like to share my businesses. My sales have increased. I've grown in so many different ways from Toastmasters and have been able to apply that directly to my businesses and how I train employees when I onboard them at my business. I utilize what I've learned from Toastmasters. You also want to follow up with the members, excuse me, before coming to the event and after. Make sure that they know how to get to your meeting, when it is, they have your contact information, and this kind of would refer back to having a Google business page would help with that as well. Guests at club meetings. First impressions are critical. Exclamation point, very critical. You want members to feel very welcomed. From Cass County Toastmasters, I notice people are drawn to the professionalism that we have. Time is very important. We start on time, we end on time. We do not waste people's time. But there is the opportunity before and after meetings to socialize. But when the meeting starts and the meeting ends, it's straight to business. We have fun doing it all, but that's one thing I would like to highlight about Toastmasters is people are drawn to that professional meetings that is structured. Having a door greeter is something relatively new to Cass County Toastmasters as well. That person's main goal is to stand at the door, welcome new guests, welcome members. Having a person there, their job is to say hi to every person that comes in that door, gives the beginning of it gives that whole meeting a positive vibration. And I believe it's one of the reasons we have guests that want to, or members that come back week after week. It's a good thing to implement. Many of you already may have this role started. Yeah, I've just seen positive impacts from adding this to our club at Cass County. Along with that door greeter, it does help with a transition to getting them connected with the VP of membership, getting them the guest packet right away, keeping that awkward walking in the door, feeling very uncomfortable for a minute or two until they are engaged. The door greeter can kind of help blend all of that together. And during the meeting, introduce all members and explain the roles with new members there. It allows them to understand who does what, why we do it, and it gives them respect for the structure of our meeting. Sorry, I'm getting some cotton mouth talking here, which I should have brought some water. Meeting roles and responsibilities so guests can better understand the meeting. And if the opportunity is there, invite them to participate in table topics and leave time at the end of the meeting to get any feedback to get them involved and help them to feel. And when they share comments at the end of a meeting, I do feel, the majority of the time they'll leave comments that are positive, which is good for the club, but I feel like it's also good for that person getting up and saying something positive about the meeting, because when they leave, that's a memory they're going to be having. They're like, well, I remember I stood up and I said, I had a blast here and it was a great experience for me. I think I will go back for a second meeting. And also be sure to invite the guests, have that follow up after each meeting. For a new member, club officers play key roles, having them fill out the applications, having membership dues. That being said, the VP of membership should be understanding. If a person can't make membership payment, don't push it, be flexible with them and support them in any way they need until they're a member and we're helping everybody grow together. Take the opportunity to announce the members in the club on social media platforms. Supply members with pins and other artifacts. Help them feel included with the club locally, but also with the worldwide community of Toastmasters. For our onboarding and mentoring, it is crucial for new members to have all the support they need to get started. Without the proper support, things may take longer. They might lose interest. They feel like, well, I'm waking up at 6:30 in the morning to come to Cass County Toastmasters. I don't feel like I'm getting a benefit. I'm not engaged. I don't understand what the pathways are. That's up to us officers to assist, hold their hand, and it can change. A member could come in, all you need to do is shoot them an email, and that's really all the help they need, and then they can get all the resources and they're doing everything they need. Other members want it to be face-to-face. They want to feel that person-to-person interaction and have that type of an experience to grow in Toastmasters. And that's our roles too. Either way, we have to address whatever level of help they need through that onboarding process. Choosing a mentor. And we need to be choosing mentors, and mentors should, when they volunteer to be a mentor, they have to be willing to go that extra step, put in that extra effort for the new member that came on board. They have to be willing to put the success of the member that they're mentoring on the top of their priority list in Toastmasters. Reaching out to them weekly for the first bit until they make it through their icebreaker, they're feeling comfortable filling roles. And that's very important too. If you are going to be a mentor, have that mindset. And if we're going to choose somebody, a mentor, communicate that with them that it is an important role to fill. And along with that, we have to get the first step started with getting them signed up for their icebreaker speech, where the VP of Education will get that lined up. Celebration. Everybody loves to feel appreciated. We love to put in our effort. We like to succeed, but also the appreciation we get from our success, especially celebrated as a club, huge. It helps us to keep going for that next step, pursuing our goals. There's many, many ways to celebrate and to show success of a certain member. Communicating that at meetings. It could be, social media platforms. It could be something you work into an award ceremony at times different times throughout the year, or at your annual award ceremony. Really, every milestone that a member reaches, we have to celebrate that. That's how we're going to keep members engaged. That's how we're going to keep growing. And as every member grows in Toastmasters, that whole club is going to benefit and have a wonderful club that's going to just be drawing people into it. A few takeaways I wanted to cover. And I hope I'm not repeating, speaking to the choir here. If you already have a Google page, kudos to you. If you haven't had a Google business page, as I said, I would be more than happy if it just is up here, it's above your head, you're like, I don't even know where to start, email me. It really only takes me about 15 minutes to get one started. And if you supply the pictures and the location, I can really help with any members that would like to get this created for their club. Consider a Doormaster role if you haven't already included that. And you can run a professional meeting and have fun. I feel the structured meetings is what we're looking for, and before and after the engagement, that's up to the members, but honor their time. And last, reference the District 78 new member onboarding guide. It's a well put together article, and it's a great reference for us all. I was hoping to have some discussion, so that's where I would like everybody to chip in and help. I'm going to be taking notes of any ideas that I have not thought of. In your clubs, is there any successful actions you take for motivating members? Has anybody had any success doing this? Or any cool ideas they would like to share?
This is Jenna Hogwood with Club 210 in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. So one of the things that we do at our meetings is offer a time for member moments. And it's about a 10-minute time slot for any member or guest to share how Toastmasters has impacted their life or helped improve things. And it becomes a very elevated part of our meeting to where they get to express how they've used Toastmasters in their everyday life to make them feel better about what they're doing, and so on and so forth. So it's open floor for anybody that wants to share.
You do that every meeting? Or is that perfect?
Every meeting, about 10 minutes is what we allow. It seems to help and gives more people the opportunity to speak.
That's great.
We do something similar. We call it Toastmaster Kudos, where people share an opportunity to speak out in the real world during the previous week.
Wonderful.
David, this is Derek from Speakeasy Club 780081. Nice to meet you.
Hey, Derek, thank you.
Yeah, just so you know that for our success would be getting to know new members for the guest, getting to know the guests, because you want to make sure you interact one another and understand what their feelings are.
Definitely. Thank you. You're saying with every time you have a guest, Derek, you're pursuing you're interacting with that guest when they come.
Yeah, yes.
Perfect. Is that similar? Basically, is that similar to like a doormaster role? What I was covering? One
Yep.
person is it one person or is that just a group thing
It
that
just
you guys
depends.
have?
It usually depends on the day. You know, it's like we used to do a meeting in person, but now with COVID, we had to do it virtually now.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. I was going to touch on that subject of virtual meetings. With a doormaster, it would be just great to have one person that is their role is right at the beginning of the meeting is to greet every person that comes on. And I know once we get 15 or 10 or 15 people, it's kind of hard for the doormaster virtually to interrupt any active conversations. But I would encourage it to be like a private message over Zoom to do that. Anyone else have any fun ideas?
Hi, this is Teresa with Club Med in Billings, Montana. Something that I think we do that really helps people connect is we have a social every month where, I mean, everybody loves to eat. So we usually meet at a restaurant and, you know, usually more than 50% of our members attend. And it's a great way to connect on a personal level so that people, I don't know, any new members, they can get to know the group and maybe feel a little more connected. And, you know, we can then, you know, we don't always just talk about Toastmasters at the socials, but if anything comes up that they need help with, we can talk about that there.
Perfect.
So this is Stephen from Brooks Avenue. Something that our club does similar to what has been mentioned. The Sergeant of Arms. So our club is, the meetings are virtual, it's hybrid, some in person and some virtual. And the Sergeant of Arms does a check with everyone who comes on, a welcome, a warm greeting, and then it's also a sound and audio check. Video check if the person is speaking for that meeting. They ask questions about, are you going to be presenting anything? And then they'll do a trial run with presenting. And that's a really good way to get people engaged and make sure that all the equipment is working correctly. And then as people are in the room, we kind of joke about that. We get a sound check from everyone who comes into the room, which is kind of humorous. And some of us are actually online as well in the room. That kind of helps. And then we make sure that for those that are in the room, we put all of our names in for the meeting that were listed in the room. So everyone knows who's in that room versus who's online.
Perfect.
Hey, David, this is Hagan.
Hey, again.
I was listening to Teresa talk about the social, I think it was you, Teresa, the social every month. What a great idea. And I remember just not too long ago when Carl came to our division, Diana and Clyde threw a party.
Oh,
at
yes.
their house. And man, that was really fun. And, you know, it wasn't a huge turnout, but two of our newest members were there. And it was really an opportunity to kind of get to know them a lot better. And I think they're just going to be great members and a very, very strong contribution to the club. So I want to thank Diana and Clyde for that. That was really great.
That was great. Talk about keeping new members feeling included in the club by those social events. That's a great idea, and a great example too.
Hey, David, this is Fred McDonald from Top 5. We meet on Mondays, and something we've done for a long time is on fifth Mondays, do something a little different. And we're going to try something we've not done before this at the end of this month. We're going to have our meeting. We're going to call it Toastmasters on the Road. And
Okay.
we're going to meet at a at a local restaurant, similar to what we talked about earlier. We'll have it'll be a table topics meeting, largely.
Oh, fun.
Each person will be invited, each member will bring somebody who's not a part of Toastmasters. And then those who come into the restaurant where we're at will be able to see us. If they want to join us, they'll be able to. And so we're going to try that. But on fifth Mondays, we just do something completely different for our meeting.
Full screen.
Thank you, Fred. I really like that idea.
You did too.
This is Jim Squires, Club 239 Miles City, President, VP of Ed. One of the things that I've done for years as in the various clubs I belong to, 3 different clubs, is serving as secretary. I provide a full set of detailed minutes, generally within about 3 hours of the end of a meeting. It takes me approximately an hour and a half to put together the meeting or the minutes for that meeting, but I always include attendance, the questions that were asked in table topics, and the comments that were made during evaluation. And then, of course, the link for the next meeting, the date, the time, that type of thing. And then any business that transpires. And having served as both an area director and a division director, I had access to a lot of notes and a lot of information. And I see a lot of people on board this evening that were on my list of different people that I sent these minutes to. And, they have been very useful. And I know the clubs that I'm involved with have used these, and other clubs members who have visited from around the United States have commented that, wow, those are really neat set of minutes. Enough said.
This is Dixon Rice from Kalispell, Montana, Club 3147. When the pandemic started, we met online for 2 months. And ever since then, we've been hybrid. And we have about a third of our members that attend on Zoom. And we have 3 members that live and work out of state and participate regularly. Matter of fact, last year's president lived in Las Vegas.
Okay.
And so that's been a great way for us to expand our membership. And I would, in a future training session, it would be nice to discuss ways to reach out online to people that don't have a connection to your local club, but would benefit from membership.
Yes.
This is Kimberly Ruth from the Fargo Gate City Club. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I would just like some feedback on asking guests to do table topics. I think it's one thing to ask for volunteers and to make the statement that guests are welcome to participate.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if calling upon a guest to speak might be intimidating. Maybe if after the second or third time they come as a guest, it would be fine. But if it's their first time as a guest, they might find that a little intimidating to be asked to get up and speak for table topics. And I'd just like to know the thoughts of the other Toastmasters here.
Yeah. Does anybody want to speak to that?
Hi, my name is Steve Anderson with Vera Sacred Heart Hospital Toastmasters Club in Yankton, South Dakota. And on that topic, we do ask guests if they would like to participate in table topics before we start the meetings, just to see if they're interested or not. And I'd say about 50% of the time, the guests are interested enough that they do want to. And it's always interesting because they're usually pretty good at it. So that's our approach.
It's a great approach.
Say, this is Ashley Dimmer. I'm in the same group as Steve. And I just want to piggyback a little bit on Steve's comment. I think one of the things our group does well when we talk about being intimidated as a new member is really the senior members are very mindful of their energy and they make sure that they put off very warm, hospitable energy. And also, when we make mistakes, we don't get too hard on ourselves and we don't sometimes take ourselves too seriously. And I think that can really help new members feel less intimidated.
Yes, very much.
Hi, this is Saurabhi Satam with Bold and Blue Toastmasters Fargo. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yeah, actually, we also encourage our guests to participate in table topics. And we try to be true to form for table topics, which is impromptu speaking. So at the time, we ask our guests if they would like to participate or not. If they say yes, well and good, which several of our guests previously have. If they don't, we just move on to the next club member and just continue on with our meeting as planned. So it's not an awkward pause per se. We make sure that we stay hospitable and warm, as Ashley mentioned, to our guests. So it's not gonna be like intimidating or awkward in any way. And it has worked for us.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I have,
Yes, Diana.
as a member of Toastmasters, Cass County Club 4010 out of Fargo, I would like to kind of piggyback a little bit on the table topics question. And I think it's a great idea to involve the new members, or the guests, but I would strongly encourage that if you are going to ask them questions, it not be the first question. That was being asked the very first question right off the bat, not ever being at a Toastmaster meeting, almost scared me enough to never come back to Toastmasters. So that's something you want to make sure is that you don't ask them the first question. And I think sometimes you could even wait till just when you're starting Toastmasters, your table topics, to ask them at that time, because if they've seen one or two people doing a table topics, they might feel more comfortable and say, oh yeah, sure, I can do that. Where maybe at the beginning of the meeting, they would have said no because they really didn't know what it was all about. So there's a couple of ways to approach it, but always, I think it is good to ask them before you give them a question, because you could scare a future member away. Thank goodness I didn't. But.
Thank you, Diana. I wanted to ask the next question, if that's okay, unless we have anybody who would like to share quickly.
I have one thing that I like to share. What we do when we have a guest is we make sure that everyone, like the table topics, that person explains what the role is. And to build on what Diana mentioned, never ask them the first question. But then also, it's somewhat of a gauge of the person that your guest. Sometimes you get a sense if they're willing to or not. And sometimes we actually know who the guest is, and we're more likely to ask them a question. And then you can just sense by their demeanor whether you should or shouldn't ask them a question. And so it's a lot on that individual.
Very good point. The next question I want to ask the group is there anything in your industry, in your job, that have you seen work well for employee engagement or recruitment, in your job? Anything creative that would be beneficial to us at the Cass County Club, or Cass County, I meant Toastmasters Club in general?
David, this is Derek from Speakeasy Club 780081. Just so you know, we're looking for members right now. We're at 19 right now. We're going to be targeting up to 20 right now. So just so you know, it's really hard to know what's happening right now for Toastmasters world right now.
Yeah.
David, this is Ashley Dimmer from A Very Sacred Heart Toastmasters in Yankton, South Dakota. And I work fully remotely. My job is 100% remote. And some things that my company does that's very interesting and creative, that as we consider hybrid or virtual connection, is we host Friday night cooking through Zoom. And if we're talking about socials and getting together, there's no reason we couldn't leverage group chats or Zoom get-togethers either. It was really fun. I attended one where we, all tried to cook the same meal together through Zoom, and it was really quite an interesting experience. And I thought that was very creative.
Oh, that is fun.
David, this is Hagan again, Cass County Club. One of the things that my organization does for the mentors is we have a form it's a get to know you form, and it has just kind of some open-ended questions about the person's interests, their hobbies, a little bit about their background, and it's useful for mentors who are maybe kind of new and they want to connect with their mentees, but they're not exactly sure what kind of questions to ask. And HR gives them sort of HR appropriate questions to break the ice.
Thank you. Great examples.
This is Robin from the Golden Word Toastmasters Club 6715, Area 22. I'm the VP of Public Relations. I'm from Australia. My name's Robin. We just do the normal things in our group, like turn up. We're hybrid because I'm from Australia. And we always reach out, like there's a core. We just have about a core of 5 or 6 people. But I just want to say thanks for this great meeting and how aware and kind everybody is to everybody else. And that get to know form sounds like a good thing. And that's how we do it. We just keep on keeping on, basically. Like everyone comes, we always see how everyone is. And sometimes when we have new people, there is a mentor, like usually somebody takes them under their wing and we welcome them. Thanks.
Thank you, Robin. Is there any open discussion on other ideas to increase member involvement or other interesting ideas for recruitment? Can be anywhere from any aspects of life.
Just remember, like business cards to hand out, or wear your Toastmasters shirt to advertise, so you can let them know, do you want to join Toastmasters?
Exactly, yep. Representing Toastmasters to allow that to be that first step for a discussion to start. It's great.
Hello, David.
Hello.
My name's Mike. My name's Mike Turner. I've been a dinosaur. I've been unable to get your attention because I muted myself. The dinosaur at work. But let me say about recruiting, we get most of our new members through word of mouth. And believe me, we were down big during COVID to only 5 members in our club in Hamilton, Montana. And when I go out anywhere into the public, I speak of Toastmasters and my involvement to anyone who will listen. And we've brought in 3 new members in the last 6 months with those methods. And,
wonderful.
And since I was muted, let me be briefly go back a moment. With our new members, when they come, we typically have a self-introduction period early in the meeting, which allows them to then identify themselves. And at the end of the meeting, we ask them for comments if they have any. If they attend the second meeting, then we ask them before the meeting starts, would they care to engage in the topics, table topics, because they will have witnessed one session of it already. And that seems to work real well for us. And let me go back just briefly a little bit further back. Our club is pretty closely knit. We motivate each other by doing things like we have one member that's nearly blind. So we have name placemats with font that's inches tall. We have one lady that is hearing impaired. And so everyone knows to speak a little louder when she's seated in a certain part of the room. And we exchange rides, and one lady even offered one of our other members a place to stay for 2 weeks while she was having issues with her plumbing at her house. So we're a pretty tight organization, although we're growing slowly, we are growing. Thanks for everybody to indulge that length of discussion.
Thank you, Mike.
Hey, David, Catherine's hand is raised.
Oh, hey, Catherine. Do you have a question?
Yeah, hi, David. I just wanted to say quickly that I think right now people get pretty overwhelmed when it comes to their schedules, at least in my circle. And the thought of adding one more thing to the schedule can be intimidating. So we make a point when we have guests to let them know that you get out of Toastmasters what you put into it. And we understand that people have day jobs and other priorities, and that we can be flexible in saying, obviously, it's not mandatory that you attend every single meeting if something comes up. And I think just giving people that flexibility to know that we want them to put in as much as they can, but we're not expecting them to, start dedicating 20 hours a week or something like that if they're already overwhelmed. I think it just makes it a lot easier for people to want to join if they know there's that expectation and flexibility.
I like that. Very good. Really leave it up to them to make the commitments instead of forcing the commitments on them. Wonderful. I appreciate everybody's input, and it's been a great discussion. I hope you enjoyed it. With that, I will give up control. And whoever's next in line can jump in.
Hey, thank you so much. My name is John Peterson, and I will take control. I wanted to offer hands up. I thought there was a couple hands up, but now I see them going down. Anybody have any last comments before we move on? All right. The point of the second portion of this meeting is for educational training. Something to share with you, some good experiences and some good lessons learned, some good tools, just some highly motivated clubs with some VPEs that would like to share with you some of the things that they're doing in their clubs that are working really well for motivating those members to complete the educational goals. First of all, I would like to introduce our main speaker, just kind of a logistics. We're going to have a main speaker, Greg, and he's going to go for about 20 minutes. And then we'll have 3 people that will be our panelists, and I'll introduce them. And then at the end of theirs will be about 6 to 7 minutes each. We can have questions, and then people from the panel or Greg can answer those questions. So please save your questions until the end, until that kind of question and answer session. All right, for Greg. Greg joined Toastmasters in 1995 in Butte, Montana. He was the District 17 governor for Montana in 2002 and 2003. He received the Toastmaster International Presidential Citation 2004 for his role in forming District 78. I did try to form my own club at one time, and it is a very big challenge. So good job, Greg. Greg served as a Division D Pathways Guide prior to the District 78 Pathways rollout in May 2018. He's currently the VP of Education for High Nooners, which is in Bismarck, North Dakota. High Nooners has been a distinguished club or higher for the past 7 years. Please help me welcome Greg.
Thanks, John. I appreciate it. And welcome to everybody that is participating. I noticed there were 100 people signed in a few minutes ago. There might even be more now. I have, as John mentioned, about 20 minutes of material, and it's good to have other panelists from other clubs because no one club is perfect. So they may have some ideas from their experiences and what they do, especially if they're hybrid clubs. High Nooners Club meets live and in person. Renee, if you could bring up my agenda items, that would be helpful. I'm working from an old iPad, so Renee is helping me. That would be, not that one. That one, okay. So I will work off of this, and if you have any questions, just write them down because I won't be able to answer those while I present. And then we'll try to get to them later after the other panelists. But I was given 2 items by Division D, how to motivate members to complete their educational goals and how to set club goals. I added a 3rd item, which is how to track and update progress. I will give you some details and examples for those 3 main talking points. And I do have a couple other slides. I will be referencing some forms that I will not be showing you. Hopefully you can just Google those and find those. First of all, the first topic item, how to motivate members to complete their educational goals. It's important to define individual goals with each member for the club year starting in July at the start of the year, detailing how many speeches they want to give and what strengths, weaknesses they want to work on. If you are a brand new VPE or Vice President of Education, you're starting from scratch. You may need to do something more detailed, but I just work upon what I had from last year. So that makes it fairly easy. And if they're working on a particular level and pathways, then we just continue with that. And I know what speech they're going to give. If they are starting a new level, finishing a level, I need to know how fast they want to go. Usually with members in our club, we meet every other week or bi-weekly. If a member gives one speech a quarter, that's plenty. 4 speeches a year. Sometimes 2 or 3 is plenty for people because, as one other person mentioned, people are very busy. They have lives outside of Toastmasters. So I always check and make sure how fast they want to move. There's always 1 or 2 that want to fast track. And then there's some older members that if they give 1 speech a year, that's fine. I focus on strengths because when we're hired in our job for our real job, we're hired for our strengths. So we need to leverage the strengths that we have in Toastmasters as well. Build upon our weaknesses, turn them into strengths, but also build our strengths and make them stronger, leverage those. The second item, review with each member the pathways level they are on, the projects in that level, and the number of speeches and assignments in that level. It's important for new members especially to understand what the software protocol is in Pathways, how to move around in it, and then what each of the different terminologies are within each of the levels. So everybody starts in level 1, but there's projects within that level. So they need to understand that a project may have just 1 speech, or as in the evaluation and feedback project in level 1, there are a couple of speeches and an evaluation to do. So there are 3 different assignments within a project. And so that is a little tricky for newer members to understand that even level 2, it takes a lot of going back and forth with members just to talk to them, to explain, ask them, do they understand what the terminology is in each of the different levels and the different projects and assignments. Now, in understanding what the members need, you can certainly get information from the new member profile, which Toastmasters has. It is item 1162F, if you need to know that. I don't particularly use that one because I like to talk to people in person. There's also the member interest survey, item number 403 in Toastmasters. I found that the Toastmasters International search engine is a little cumbersome. what I do is I just go on the web and Google the different forms, and I can find it. And then I can find what other districts or divisions are doing as well. And some of the other districts have made hybrids of the different forms and use those. It's interesting to see what they do when I Google. The third item under how to motivate members is share with each member how their individual goals match up with the club success plan / distinguished club program or DCP goals. Now, as far as the club success plan, it is synonymous really with the DCP goals. The club success plan that has been available through Toastmasters International, item number 1111, is 22 pages long. And I just got an email yesterday, just in time for this presentation. Everybody else got it too, I'm sure, that the club success plan form has been revised. It is now item number 1111 CSP2. It's only 10 pages long. Now, as previously mentioned, people don't want to feel overwhelmed and bombarded with too many forms, too many meetings, and especially the VP of Education. As I mentioned, I don't use the forms necessarily. I create something myself. I create a hybrid. Although I do like this new club success plan form because it starts off with the DCP goals right at the top. And that's basically what your club success plan is just completing the DCP goals. So I do like that newer version, but then I do have a hybrid. And Renee, if you could just show what I have there in terms of what our working plan is. I'll wait for Renee to pull that up. Not that one, the other one. There we go. So you see High Nooners Toastmasters goal number 1. Troy Moss has completed that already in June. With the old traditional program, people would always save a little bit. If they didn't need to turn it in one particular year, they'd save it for the next year. We did that with Troy. So he completed his speech in June, and we didn't need it for last year. So we just saved it, turned it in July, and that's our first goal completed. Then you see 4 other people listed under goal number 1 who need to complete level 1, because we need 4 level 1 completions. Now, those are the 4 people that I've talked to. They understand, okay, I've only got 1 speech left. I can certainly do that this year, but then it's always good to have a plan B. And so the plan B in this case is all those people listed. Anybody that's working on level 1 is listed. So everybody in the club, even though they may not complete a level during that particular club year, can see where they're at in terms of helping our club achieve its goals by completing speeches. So everybody in the whole club, we have 24 members, everybody is listed somewhere on this first page or second page. So I emailed directly to people when I talked to them about how many speeches they need to give or want to give. Then I email and share with them individually how it fits within the DCP goals. Then when the club officers get together, and that's the second part of my outline, is how to set club goals, we go through this list and we see who is eligible and ready to complete a level, which would complete a club goal. And then we simply apply that to our club success plan, or that is our club success plan. This is gone over by the officers in July at the start of the year. And we agree to it, everybody understands it, and then it's emailed by the club president to the other members so that they can see what's going on. And then we email that also quarterly. So by emailing it quarterly, everybody gets an update. We don't talk about it so much during the meetings, except if all of a sudden we become a distinguished club and we've completed 5 DCP goals, we have a little celebration in the club, but not everybody goes to every meeting. Somebody might miss a couple of meetings in a row, and then they've missed a whole month because we only meet bi-weekly. that being the case, it's good to send out an email with the updated DCP goals, club success plan, in July at the start of the year, and then quarterly thereafter. You can see that not everybody is giving speeches in terms of completing goals. So in terms of new members, the VP membership sees, okay, we've got 4 on the list. If our goal is to get 4 new members for the year instead of 8, maybe we don't need to complete goal number 8, but we certainly need to complete goal number 7, because every club of 20 members loses about 20% of their members per year, which is about 4 members a year. So it's good to replace, and we've been pretty much right on track. We lose 3, 4, 5 members every year, and we just have to replace them. We might ask all members to bring guests, but we have a strategy to go along with it individually if we need to. And then we have people in terms of our treasurer working with the VP of membership, turning in club dues and so forth. We try to keep everything simple and try not to get overwhelmed, especially the VP of education. I learned when I was district governor just to try to do a little bit each day, or if not every day, a little bit every week, just so it doesn't build up. So the third bullet that I have is how to track and update progress. Now there is a pathways achievement chart, item number 822, which is a very good one. But I don't see it available on the Toastmasters International website. And it was something that was available over in the UK by a district in the UK. And they were offering it so many pounds or whatever it is that they charge through Toastmasters International. And that was an excellent chart. It was mentioned in one of the previous trainings or sessions that we've had, and I picked up on that just by listening to somebody present. Renee Frankie, I think, brought it up. So that's out there too. But we use our own just little chart. You know, you can have a spreadsheet. I know other people have spreadsheets. I'm not an accountant or an engineer. I'm a liberal arts guy. So spreadsheets aren't something that I necessarily use. I work off of Word documents. So what you saw previously was a Word document with the 10 DCP goals and with each person listed. And when after each meeting, I just update it. So that makes it easy. Then in terms of finally measuring, it's important to keep the transcripts current. And I talk individually with each member, I'd say after each meeting, and ask them to please do in the pre and post tests for a speech that they have completed. And that is something that people don't do automatically, to make sure that it is marked complete, that particular speech for that particular project in Pathways. So it takes a lot of reminders to ask people to do that, do the pre and post tests. And if you do that, then it makes it a whole lot easier in terms of keeping your records straight, and you don't have a big rush at the end of the year. It was the same way under the old traditional program when we had paper manuals. People would always forget to get the VP of education initials on the last page for all of the speeches. And then they'd say, oh, I completed all 10 speeches. Well, they weren't initialed, and we got to backtrack and go through meeting minutes and verify and so on. So it's helpful to keep doing that regularly. So be patient, work with the people, talk to them a lot before and after meetings. I try not to have special meetings, but I make use of my time before a meeting starts, after a meeting starts for a few minutes, and I talk to a couple people each week, keep them on track, send emails as I need to, and it seems to work pretty well. But it's important to keep good records. It really is, because what gets measured gets done. It really is. You need to calibrate and update regularly. Because really the DCP goals are, in the workplace, is a popular term, KPIs or key performance indicators. You need to know what those key performance indicators or goals, how they're doing, how you're doing with those for the club during the club year. And then it's important also for the VP of Education to look into base camp before each meeting, before somebody gives a speech, to find out what that speech assignment is and make sure that they're on track, but also to know where the member is at in case there's an opportunity where you can fit in a speech at a higher level that they weren't even thinking about. For instance, one of our members appeared on Fox News. And I said, well, that's great. That would work in terms of a speech assignment. So you appeared on Fox News. Why don't you come back and report on that in the club? Tell us what your experience was like. We'll show the videotape. We'll get it from the TV station. And then that would work for a higher level probably than that person was on. So those things work out as long as the VP of Education can be aware of those opportunities and make sure that the member gets credit for it. Jonathan, I think I've used most of my time.
All right.
There is one other slide. There's one other slide that Renee hasn't shown, and that is the DCP goals slide. This is our one from the end of last year, but we always send that out quarterly as well to make sure that people look at it. Like I say, we could do it during the meetings, but it's easier to just send it to all members via email to make sure everybody gets it. Because not everybody attends meetings regularly. So we send out that plus our worksheet as far as our DCP goals and club success plan. Those two items we send out at least quarterly so people understand and see those and have a visual of those. Okay, Jonathan.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I always love hearing how organized you are. It's always an inspiration. So thank you for all of that. We'll hold off on questions for now, but we're going to introduce our panel for right now. And we're going to start with Diana Riblinger. She's a distinguished Toastmaster, which she received in 2016. Originally, she joined Toastmasters in 2009, though. So far, she's finished the dynamic leadership path and is working on the motivational strategies path and the effective coaching path. She's served as a club officer in every position and currently the VP of Education. I also wanted to highlight some of the district leadership positions. Very impressive. Area governor, the district fall conference chair, the club growth director, program quality director twice, recently in 2020, and then the district director the last few years. Diana, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's yours.
All right. Thank you, Jonathan. A lot of things that Greg said, I know our club does, and I've done a lot of those same things serving as the VP of Ed. This is the third year I've served in this particular position. And before, I'd like to let people know that we try not to have the same people serving the same role over and over. It's an opportunity for other members to get their feet wet in leadership roles as well, except for this year, we had so many new members, they kind of felt intimidated by the role, the VP of Ed role. So I had volunteered to have somebody work with me and show them the ropes as well on doing that. So with that being said, I think one of the ways to keep members engaged is having them shadow current officers right now that are serving in those roles, so that by the end of the year, maybe they will feel more comfortable and be willing to jump in and serve the following year. It's also something that we encourage our members to do, is to become engaged in serving in district leadership positions. A lot of people forget that those district leadership positions also correspond to positions in companies. Your club growth is your marketing, and you've got your program quality, our program quality director. Those roles are your training and education at a company. Your district director's role is more a CEO position. You have a variety of different ways you can use those roles if you're serving in them as a district leader. So we always try to share with our fellow members how you can learn some skills at no cost. I mean, other than your membership at Toastmasters, it's a on-the-job training basically for your work as well. So that's something that we like to keep our members aware of. We also like to recognize our members. We found that when you recognize your members, they are more engaged, they want to do more, they like to be recognized for things that they do. And we just don't always have to recognize them for what they do in Toastmasters, but you can recognize them for things that they've done within the community. We've had members that have been elected into community, the Chamber's board of directors. That's outside of Toastmasters, but a lot of them learn those same skills in Toastmasters to get them there. So that's a way to show our members, especially our new members, how Toastmasters relates to the real world as well. We do have a meeting. Our club's executive committee meets monthly, and we go over a lot of things, but we also have a short little few minutes meeting where our club president will share with anything that's coming up in either our club, our area, our division, or our district that would be of interest to any or all of our members or guests. So that's one way to keep them engaged, is constantly letting them know that there are things out there to do more than just the meetings. It's also during that time that, as the VP of Ed of our club, we have the opportunity to recognize our members, those that have just joined, those that have given their first speeches, those that have finished the club a path, or have achieved a big deal in their Toastmaster journey. We also encourage our members to work with their mentors. We assign mentors for every one of our new members, and I think that's very important. I know when I first joined our Toastmasters club, there wasn't the assigning of mentors. And I know when my husband joined, who was prior to me joining, he was just told, oh, well, just ask anybody in the club, they'll be happy to answer your questions. Well, sometimes that's kind of intimidating for a new member. So that's one of the reasons when I became the VP of Ed the first time, I said, I think we really need to appoint a mentor so that that person knows, the new member knows specifically who they can go to and feel more comfortable in building a rapport and feeling comfortable asking them questions. And then their mentor also has the opportunity to work with them, to sit with them during a meeting for the first time that they're filling a role. So if they have a question at that time, or you've noticed as a mentor that your mentee is getting nervous about the whole role, you're there to help ease it a little bit. So it's important that that your club, if you can, appoint a member. We also don't just let everybody sign up we don't pass out a sheet and say, sign up when you want to do a speech. We actually, as a VP of Ed, we set a schedule and we fill in everybody's, so that everybody gets an opportunity to speak and do all those roles. We actually assign each weekly's meeting. If a member happens to want to do more speeches or want to fill a specific role, all they have to do is let me this year, or any of our VP of Eds in the past, know if they want to fill a particular role, and we get them on the schedule as soon as possible. So those are some things that we do. We also, to keep our members engaged throughout the week, we have, a couple years ago, some of our members started the Signal chat app. And so our members communicate with each other throughout the week, whether or not with each other, and not always is it just with about Toastmasters in our meeting. We share about what we're maybe doing during the week, maybe about some event that we've done. Like there was 3 of us that participated in the marathon all this past year. We shared that. We were able to communicate back and forth with each other and with the fellow members, and we encourage each other. So I think using some type of social media outside of just Toastmasters is great, but also use it like Signal. Use it to keep connected with your members throughout the week even. We also encourage members to, if somebody isn't able to fill a role, to volunteer to step in and cover a role. We talk to each of the members at the beginning of the year, just as Greg did, to find out where they are, what they're doing. We try to get the previous year's VP of Ed to pass on that information so that there's not very much of a lag, that we can keep those members progressing without a bunch of hesitation in there at the beginning of the year. And so it is important that you know what your members want, why they join Toastmasters, what is their ultimate goal. And as the VP of Ed, my job is to try to help them achieve that throughout the year. But as somebody mentioned earlier, it's whatever the member puts in is what the member is going to get out of Toastmasters. But also remember to be mindful that Toastmasters is an educational tool. It is not a lifestyle. And some of us have learned that the hard way. But there's so much that Toastmasters offers that a lot of people just aren't aware of. So don't be afraid to step outside of your club and participate in activities. I believe I've hit my time. So I will let Jonathan introduce the next panelist.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was great hearing some new twists on that. I definitely appreciated the shadowing to get acquainted with the position, as well as assigning a mentor. I think that's really good. I think otherwise it can really fall apart or kind of fall through the cracks. Thank you for those. All right. I see Kirk on the screen. Kirk, you're up next. Kirk is a part of Bismarck Toastmasters. He joined in 1997 after participating in a speechcraft course. He earned his Distinguished Toastmaster in 2006, and he served in various club officer roles, primarily President and VPE. And it looks like this year you are the VPE. Kirk, I will turn it over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jonathan. Yeah, I'm Kirk Dewey, and I am with Bismarck Toastmasters. And I have to admit, the last few years, we've definitely struggled with motivating people in general. It's gotten better as we've went back to having more normal meetings that we used to have. I think it certainly helps when people come to the meeting live if they can, but we do have some members that participate via Zoom still. Almost all of our new members that have joined in the last year have came to a meeting, and I like that because it just allows us to get to know that person and make them feel welcome, and they get to feel more of the friendly atmosphere than when we were having strictly Zoom meetings. But I guess for me, I try to, as VP of Education, to visit with new members to understand what their goals and objectives are, to help them and encourage them to speak as often as they can, and remind them, as we heard earlier, that you get out of Toastmasters what you put into Toastmasters. If you're only going to give one speech a year, you're probably not going to move forward very fast, and I think you lose motivation in Toastmasters. We have a member that joined roughly 3 months ago already, and still has not chosen a path and has not given their icebreaker speech. And despite my continued effort to get him to do that, I guess that's his journey, and he's getting something out of the club just by attending. So I guess we got to recognize members where they're at. We have another member that joined on Monday night at our meeting, and he already requested to give his icebreaker speech at our next meeting and asked. So I know he wants to be one of those that's going to be fast tracked, so we'll try to work with him. when we used to meet weekly, so we would have a schedule put together. And for the most part, we were just filling out that spreadsheet with names of people and trying to look at who had accomplished various roles and try to get people to speak as often as they wanted to. If they wanted to speak once every 2 months or once every 3 months, that's what we put down there. And that seemed to work really well. About 2 or 3 years ago, we switched to bi-weekly meetings. So we meet the second and fourth Mondays. And so now the look ahead is more like 3 meetings. And that just helps, I guess, people know where they're going. But particularly, I ask at every single meeting and encourage people who wants to speak, and I encourage them to think about why they joined Toastmasters and to let me know how I can help them. You know, that's what we're here for, is to help you grow in your Toastmasters role. And if there's specific roles they want to do that are on their educational path, to share those, because we can only help people if they let us know what's going on. I struggle a little bit with the new pathways online system overall. And when you look at, as a Basecamp manager, going in and looking at the paths and member progress, the fact that you have to spend time using that tool and waiting for it to refresh is a little hard, but I'm getting used to that. I do like what Greg mentioned in just having that simple hybrid club success plan. It seems like a great way to just track things and to also encourage people to complete their project as soon as the meeting is done or as soon as they can. And as the VP of Education, at least through Basecamp Manager, I can see if they actually completed that. And if they didn't, one of the things I, again, appreciate about Greg's speech was to follow up with that member all the time. And I guess my goal would be to do that better and to talk with members individually, a couple members each meeting and where they're at, and try to keep encouraging those. So I think those were good tips that Greg had. I don't have a lot of other things that I can add to what Greg had. But I think if you, as the VP of Education, if you can meet with the individuals and do that frequently, I like the fact that at least what Greg talked about, once a year, sitting down with everybody and reminding them what their goals are and going through that and help them reestablish those and what level they're on. And because the more they become engaged, the more they're going to get out of Toastmasters. The more they get out of Toastmasters, the better our club will do, which helps with our distinguished club program. So focusing on that member is certainly the key. I guess, you know, I know every time I go into Toastmasters on their website, into Pathways or any of that, and start searching for different topics, I learn a lot about what Toastmasters has to offer. There's so much out there, but a lot of our members that join for lots of reasons don't seem to go in and really do much research themselves. So I guess all I can do is to encourage them to do that. And when I know something or find something that will meet their specific needs that they've shared with me, to make sure I let them know about it. I also appreciate what Greg's comments were about sharing the club success program with all of our members, but especially the new members, to help them understand that their individual educational goals and progress, everything they accomplish, helps the club meet their goals. And I think by being part of that team and understanding how they fit into that role, that's something that's very important. So I definitely plan to incorporate that more into my roles as I continue on my VP of Education process this coming month. And I guess with that, I'm going to end and turn it back to Jonathan.
All right. Thank you very much. I think you continue to emphasize just how proactive a VP, especially a successful VP of Education, kind of needs to be in terms of thinking ahead, planning ahead. Not only that, but just the strong communication, like you said, sending emails, but also just talking to people. I think those are all great kind of things to emphasize. It's a super important role, and I think you guys have really emphasized some of the great kind of aspects or proactive approaches to take. All right, get to our last panelist. And I'm sorry, Stephen, but hopefully I get your name at least close to right. So Stephen Wegscheit has been a Toastmaster since 2018. He's been the Sergeant at Arms, Secretary, and President. He's really enjoyed setting up the room and welcoming members, being that face to the meeting. As President, which he is now, he likes translating the vision. I definitely hear you there. It's fun to share that with new members. He also wanted to emphasize that don't think that you're always going to succeed, and that's just okay. The part about being with Toastmasters is to try, and every time you make a mistake, you learn from it and become better. Stephen, I'm going to turn it over to you. The floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, Jonathan. How do you motivate members to complete their education goals? That's a very good question. And we heard some really good things from Greg and Diana and Kirk. Before I kind of talk about what we do at Brooks Avenue Toastmasters, let me share a little bit about our club. We're a closed club, a corporate club. Our meetings are hybrid. Being a company club that we are, there's some good things. We get to do our meetings online, or not on company time, which is a good thing. Some of the challenges would be that the needs of the business comes first, and that has come into play the last couple of years with COVID and market conditions and shortages. So there's good things and bad things with that. With that being said, our club has 40 members, 40 active members, and about 9 members on hold because of the needs of the business. We have 2 meeting times, once in the morning and once in the afternoon, and each meeting has about 20 members. And the way we set up our meetings, we have a list of officers for both the morning meeting and the afternoon meeting. Now, I'm the president of the afternoon session and then the overall president, and that's why I'm here today. With the VP of Education, we have one for each of the meetings, and they create the schedule for that particular time slot. But for Toastmaster International, Jesse is our main VP of Ed. So really it comes down to 3 things. It comes down to schedule, opportunities, and recognition. And what do I mean by schedule? We create a schedule. I'm going to share my screen here real quick. We create a schedule for each time period, and we schedule, and since we have 20 members and every week we have 10 roles, and so you're on a week, you're off a week, but everyone knows in advance, and we schedule this out 3 months in advance. And so, you know, everyone knows when they're going to be, let's say, a timer or Toastmaster, or they're going to be the speaker. And every week we have 2 speaking roles. And as you can see with the schedule, it kind of stair steps down. And so you know exactly what you're going to have and when it's going to be. Now, the beauty of this is that when people know that they have something coming up, they will prepare for it. Now, we all know that life gets in the way, work gets in the way, and there are times when we're unable to complete a role, but that's okay. We will reach out to the other members. I'll stop sharing my screen, and we'll set it out who can fill in this role, and people can take a role, whether it's a speaking role or a regular Toastmaster role, for either their time slot or the other time slot. So they have a lot of opportunity in that regard. Now let's talk about some of the special opportunities. Now we try to fit within each week. We have our agenda, we have our speaking roles, and every week we have 2 speaking roles. But there are some pathways, some events, some things that are not typical. They're longer than 5 to 7 minutes. It's a little bit more work. And then we'll have special opportunities where people can do those types of things. There are some speeches that are quite long, or there's an event that you have to host, or there's some sort of special thing that they have to do. So we'll actually make special time for those people to complete those things, those assignments that are that don't fit within a normal weekly meeting. We also do things like events and games and friendly competitions to help people be engaged. And then at the end of the year, we look at the DCP and we look at each of our members and where they're at with the levels and paths. And then we'll reach out to those members and say, hey, you're almost done with this level. What can we do to help you complete your level? What can we do to help you complete your path? And most recently, we had a member give a speech during our recognition banquet, and they were able to complete their path. That was a very special moment for our club. And lastly, we also do recognition. And what we do with that is when people complete a path, they get an email, but not just them, but also their supervisor gets an email, whether it's a path, a level, what have you. We also list on our weekly newsletter everyone who completes something significant, whether it's a level or a path, or maybe it's something outside of Toastmasters. We'll put that in the newsletter. So really, when it comes to motivating our members, we have the schedule, which has been very beneficial. We have these special opportunities for those events, those assignments that are not typical, and then we have recognition. And so that really helps us come along with all our, it helps us to engage our members, to help them to complete their levels and things, and that's how we motivate them. And with that, I will turn everything back over to Jonathan.
Awesome, thank you. I did like how well organized you are and the spreadsheet tool that you have. That definitely seems like it works well for you, and others may find something like that interesting too. So it's nice seeing that. And someone has a request for that, should they just send you a message?
Oh, absolutely. I could just take a screenshot, and we just do it on Excel, and all our members have access to that Excel. And so in some cases, I've seen it where they've done, let's say with a Google Docs, and then it's everyone has access and they can see it and they can modify it as well. So yes.
Awesome. Before we move on to question and answers, I'd like to do a little house cleaning. We did ask for people's information in terms of your club and your role. And it looks like there's a few people who joined maybe a little late that I didn't get that. I have everyone's name down, but if you haven't done that yet, if you could just put it in the chat, your name and club and role, that would help us make sure everyone gets credit that is signed on. There's a few just kind of single names or just last names. That'll help if you could put that in the chat if you haven't done so already. All right. For the logistics of the Q&A, I guess I would ask you to raise your hand if you'd like to ask the question yourself. And then if you would rather just type it in the message, you can send me a chat or you can put it in the group chat and I can read those. And we'll go to, I guess, whichever panelist or Greg that wants to step up and kind of has an answer right away. Well, I'm giving you a couple minutes and I'd like to open the floor up to those questions. Does anybody have educational goals and motivation questions for any of the speakers or panelists? All right, let's see, Amy.
Yeah, this is Amy Phillips from Four Corners Toastmasters. I'm the treasurer at Four Corners Toastmasters and a longtime member there. I'm curious to hear a little bit more from the folks who are pre-scheduling out all the roles and the speakers, even to hear a little bit more about the successes there. We kind of do struggle getting people plugged in for speaking and getting roles plugged in. And so we end up with a little bit of churn at the beginning of our meetings, trying to get those assignments all happening. So has anybody done that transition from not scheduling out to scheduling it and have any like great success stories for me on that front? I'd love to hear how that kind of a transition went.
If
I can tell you from Bismarck Toastmasters perspective, and it's probably been the opposite way. We used to have a really rigid schedule, and I would say most of the time, one or two things would always have to change prior to the meeting, regardless. The last year or so, even though I have a goal of having it scheduled out 3 weeks, it's been mostly just asking people the previous meeting what roles they want to take on, noting those. Then I assign most of the other roles at random, looking at what they've done historically, so someone isn't repeating the same role that often. But even then, it's just with so many people busy, we always seem to have 2 or 3 roles that we have to switch up at the end or just before as the meeting started. And I think that's just the times we live in.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Thank you.
This is Greg, and I'm with Kirk in that my first home club back in 1995 did a spreadsheet just like Brooks Avenue Toastmasters did. We did it for an 8-week schedule in advance. We met weekly. And it seemed to work. But here in now with the last couple of clubs I've been in, I'm leaning more towards just, since we're now meeting bi-weekly, it's I make sure that I have the speakers scheduled out 8 weeks or 8 meetings in advance. And they know that. And so I have a speaker schedule booked way out. And then I confirm with the Toastmaster of the meeting to make sure that they're going to be there, of course. And then everybody else, I just fill in, like Kirk has said, based upon who hasn't done a meeting role for a while.
And that might be an interesting way for us to kind of stair step our way in there. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So just building on the others, so we try to build our schedule out 3 months in advance. And we actually track all the people, the roles that they have, because we know life happens and they're unable. And so we kind of keep a track. With that being said, as with the other clubs, we do have last minute things that happen, especially, needs of the business come up and a person cannot break away from work. And so we do have that. We're fortunate that we have a fairly large number of members that are very eager to jump in. And it seems like a lot of clubs have those fast movers that jump at every opportunity to take a role or a speaking role. And we don't have any difficulty filling the position. However, I will say sometimes it is very last minute. We had one here a week ago that was very last minute, and actually we had people coming into the room and we adjusted the agenda to accommodate them just because there was some miscommunication, and it turned out well. But fortunately, both of our VPs of Ed, they actually send out, so our meetings are on Tuesday. They start sending out something Thursday saying, for the upcoming meeting, here's everyone who has a role. And then for the speakers, please respond back to the title and the path and all that information. And then usually everything is good by Tuesday, but sometimes there's something that does come up and they have to make an adjustment fairly quickly.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Sid, you have your hand up. Why don't you go ahead and ask
thanks.
the question?
Appreciate it. I'm Sid Dowd from Kalispell, Montana. I'm the VP of Ed for Club 3147. And I just wanted to talk about motivation for especially new members and ensure that we understand a lot of us are longtime Toastmasters, and we see the value in the path. We see the value in following the structure of Toastmasters, but that's not what draws people to Toastmasters. They're coming there because they want to speak in public better. They want to be a better public speaker, or they want to get over their fear of public speaking. And that's exactly what drew me in. I'm a city councilman here in Kalispell. I have many, many opportunities to speak in front of the public. And frankly, when I started out, I was terrible. It was really bad. I'm getting a lot better, and I appreciate the club for this specific reason. And it took me about a year of just regular weekly meetings to understand that, we are actually crafting leaders, and we are actually implementing a plan for people to systematically approach public speaking. And that's really not something that is relayed right off the bat. So when new members get in and they're floundering with the pathways, I think we need to somehow incorporate what they're really after, and ensure that they understand over time that we are getting them to that place where they're a better leader, they're a community leader, they are better at public speaking and all that kind of thing, stuff. So sometimes it's hard for long-term Toastmasters to kind of go back to the beginning and say, hey, why did I join the club in the first place, right? So I'd love to take us back there and maybe find some ways of friendly competition to get members off the ground with Pathways, because it is an alien concept when you first join. Thanks.
I can jump in on that one if you don't mind, everybody. For newer members, I agree totally. Their challenge is to get to the next meeting or to give a speech. And so all of the other things in terms of DCP plans and club success plans and goals, it kind of flies over the top of their head initially because they're conquering fear or nervousness, or can I go to the next meeting? Do I really have fun with this? Yes, I do. But do I have to do something and get out of my comfort zone again? Yes, I do. Okay, here we go again. And so it's a constant challenge for those people. And I think it's a matter of all club officers, all mentors. Sometimes we have mentors in our club, but I encourage all new members to sit next to anybody in the club and ask for advice and talk to them, because everybody in the club is on their board of directors. You just don't have to tell them that they're all on your board of directors so you can fire them anytime you want to, but everybody is fair game to get advice and talk to. And that's what I did as a new member is I talked to everybody and encourage new members to do that. Encourage your officers to constantly keep talking to those new members and support them and give encouraging feedback, because basically it is, can I make it to the next meeting and can I do the next speech? And that's all they're thinking about.
So if I can just build on to what was said, something that we do, for every new member, we assign a mentor, and we actually have internal mentorship training. We have a layout, some documents that go to the mentee and the mentor, steps, you need to do this, this, this. We have a monthly meeting where the mentors get together and kind of talk about pluses and minuses, if you will. We also invite the mentees periodically and get that fresh perspective of what's it like being a new Toastmaster? Because for us seasoned people, we've forgotten what it's like, and hear from their perspective. Now, something that we started doing recently with our mentors and mentees, so you have to clarify that I'm not an old Toastmaster, I'm a seasoned Toastmaster, and I have several mentees, but I also have let's say a mentor in training. This is someone who is fairly new to Toastmasters, but not brand new. And they're helping me mentor this brand new person. And so the new mentee has a seasoned person plus someone that's in between to help them overcome all those challenges that they have. And so I think with our mentorship program, we really get to know what their needs are and their struggles, and we can really adapt to what they need and what they want.
All right, thank you.
Can I jump in again, Jonathan?
Yeah, for sure.
Even though the new members are focused on the next meeting or their next speech, it's still important for them to hear the other stuff. And it may not sink in right away, but I'm a firm believer that repetition is the key to education. So if they hear it enough times, gradually it will sink in. And so that's the importance of not only talking about successes in the meetings, but also sending out emails. One of the things we do for recognition is that if somebody as a brand new Toastmaster gives their first speech, their icebreaker speech, we always give them a standing ovation. And when somebody completes a level, we send out an email with a whole bunch of faces and tooting horns and cakes and clinking of beer glasses or whatever we want to put on those, that anytime somebody completes a level, an email goes out and then everybody responds, and all day for the next day and all week, they constantly get emails from the other members saying, way to go, you completed a level. So celebration is a key to all of it too.
Just building on what Greg mentioned, something that you haven't mentioned is that at each of our meetings, so we have 2 meetings on Tuesdays, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, we pick a traveling trophy winner. We pick a Toastmaster who did something significant for that meeting. And you should see the look of the appreciation on their face when someone receives something. And then the next week, the next meeting, they get to pick someone. And sometimes the anguish that they go through to pick, this person over that person, but people put a lot of, they appreciate being recognized for something. And then if they have to pick someone, it's a challenge because sometimes you have 2 amazing speakers, or you have a Toastmaster or a table topics person that does an amazing job. And then having the responsibility of picking that person to be recognized. And then in our weekly newsletter, it's mentioned traveling trophy for the PM session is this person, for the morning session, it's this person.
Good one. I like that. And the another thing that we don't do in our club, we maybe need to do, is that on the ballots, you vote for first or second best speaker. There's also most improved. And one club that I was in, we had pencils that said most improved speaker and the club's name on it and so on. And so every time somebody got one of those pencils for most improved speaker, that was really a fun recognition for them, because for somebody to be best speaker in the club, I know for myself, it took a long time before there was a lot of good people in the club. Well, I wasn't that good either, but it took a long time. And if I got that pencil, that meant something to me. So that was something extra. Then I would recommend clubs think about doing that, giving a most improved speaker award, and make sure that everybody uses that on the ballot.
So Greg, the pencil idea, that was really interesting. When we used to meet in person, now it's hybrid, but when we were in person, we actually had a glass trophy that we would give out. And then we had, since we're an electronics company, we had someone designed a LED light up device that you would put this glass trophy in, and we would hand that out every week. And then people would put that on their desk at work for everyone to see with the lights flashing and blinking. And so for those clubs that meet physically in person, you can have that thing, and it could be something silly. And I've done that with other organizations where you have like a funny mug that you hand it out every week as a recognition for a job well done.
Awesome. I like the ideas of celebration, just continual emails, and the most improved speaker. I think that's even something at the end of the year that could be given as a kind of end of the year award. There was a comment on here about Club Med uses Easy Speak. That is new to me, but it sounds like it is much, much, much easier. Bob, do you want to quickly either show us or describe what that is?
Thank you very much. Easy Speak is a program that was available probably 10 years ago, and it's been updated. It has all the pathways information in it, and you are responsible to check into it and enter whether you're going to be there or not at the meeting. Roles are assigned. You have to accept a role at a meeting, and you can build an agenda from it, although the club uses another agenda rather than the one that comes from Easy Speak. And you can scope out meetings as far ahead as you want. I was not a believer in Easy Speak when I first was introduced to it, but it is a wonderful program, and it's been, like I said, it's been updated, and it keeps track of who evaluated you and when. It also keeps track of your progress through pathways. So if you've done your icebreaker, and it will tell you whether if you're in the old program or the new program, as far as pathways are concerned, it identifies you. And it's a wonderful way to take a look at what's going on. I know that Teresa Grayson is here on board tonight as well. She might be able to give you some more insights into the program if she's available. Teresa, why don't you give some insight?
Well, yes, I'm here. The more you work in Easy Speak, the easier it gets. And over the years and the times that I've been VPE, you really dig into it. There are reports that you can pull so that you can see the educational achievements and see where people are on their paths so that you can keep track of that a little better. It is, it takes a little getting used to, but I like having the self-service. Sorry, I'm supposed to start my video since I'm talking, but it has a nice self-service component. We do have our VPE this year who is automatically signing people up with speaker roles to give people a push to get speaking and looking at their paths, but also you have the ability to request speaker slots. And in there, when you select the path, it brings everything in. So if it's a project that requires more time, it's going to show that when the VPE accepts that speaker request. So then they can see that and adjust accordingly. It allows people to, go in and pick. Maybe they're having a lot of stuff going on. So maybe go in and pick invocation or timer or some quote unquote easy role so that you can coast a week or two and, so.
One more important thing to
Sounds good.
remember that you need to know. This is the most important thing. It's free.
I see the link in there. Sue, thank you very much. That is something that now we can find, and I will keep that link. All right. I have a question, let's see, from Jim. What is the best method to proceed through a pathway? Specifically, do you do a speech and find where it is, kind of the old days, or go to Basecamp Manager to keep current?
I'll answer. I haven't heard anybody else speak up yet, so I will jump in. Usually people follow the progression of speeches in each level, but you can jump around. When Pathways first started, you couldn't even see the next speech. They wouldn't allow you to. And I think people were used to the traditional program on paper where they could move. There were 10 speeches in the basic manual, so you could bounce around in those 10 speeches. You didn't have to do them in order. The same with all the advanced manual speeches. You could move around and do those. And I see people doing that now with levels 2, 3, and 4, and 5 even. 5 is a lot longer assignments, but as something comes up, they will say, oh, I can use that for level 3 or 4. So I'm only on level 2, so can I do that? And I say, sure. You have to have each level approved in order, but you can complete a speech or a project in different levels at different times. So that's up to the person and working with the VP of Education. Kirk?
Yeah, I would agree. I just gave a speech on Monday night that was from a level 3 of the effective coaching path I'm on, even though I'm effectively still on level 1. But it makes it easier if you are aware of what the next speeches are in different levels, and that's easy to find out nowadays. So good suggestion.
And I like what Toastmasters is doing by improving level 1. They added 2 more of the old basic manual speeches to level 1. And that has made it more thorough for beginning members. I think that is a big plus. So the International is looking at the whole Pathways program, looking at improvements to make. And like I said, this club success plan document that they just sent out finally makes sense. It's simple enough that people can use 10 pages instead of 22. So kudos to International.
Yeah, that was kind of new to me. I was just kind of thinking stepping through it as it was defined, but I like those options, especially like you said, if you're doing an interview or something that's outside or Toastmasters in your own work, you can include that too. So being able to check out other levels, seeing where things fit, help you kind of move along a little faster. Let's see. All right, we have just another couple minutes before we get done at 8.
I have a comment, John.
Yeah, go ahead.
Quick comment. Even though my presentation, the panelists were from the orientation of the VP of Education, the base camp manager, there's 3 base camp managers, the secretary and the club president as well. So they need to know all of this inside and out. So I'm glad that Brooks Avenue had their president presenting on the panel. But the other club officers, it's important that they listen to this too, because they may not be the secretary every year or whatever they're doing. They may be the VP of Education next year. So it's important to know the different roles and what goes into it. And I think it's important, like Diana said, to keep sharing how each officer does what they do, and making sure that everybody understands everybody else's role.
Awesome. Did see some messages that people were maybe not let in due to the kind of maximum amount of people in this Zoom meeting. Hopefully that didn't affect too many people, but I guess we have a recording, and I guess we'll kind of determine what to do with that in a little bit. But I know that was kind of sent as a message, so hopefully it didn't affect too many people. Obviously they may not have made it with that maximum capacity.
And John, there was several comments. They were curious about some of the visuals that I used, the slides that I used. So I think Renee is probably going to make those available along with a recording of the presentation so that people can have those.
Correct. David has already sent me his PowerPoint, and Greg, I have your information too, so I will forward that out. If any of the other presenters want to share something, please by all means email me, and I'll include that on the email to all club officers too.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Jonathan, this is Fred McDonald. Just a question along those lines. Since we're going to receive a recording of this along with the materials, is there a way for us to bring officers who may not have been able to come in on tonight and use these and have them receive their credit for training? Is there a way to do that?
I'm gonna punt that. Renee or Hagen, do you guys know the answer, how the recording works for credit?
Unfortunately, the recording can only be used for as a resource or reference guide to it all. Diana, correct me wrong, but I understand that with Toastmaster International, you must attend via Zoom or whatever platform there is, but you must be able to attend in order to get credit for it all. You won't be able to get credit by just watching a recording. Am I correct on that, Diana?
You are correct. They haven't, as far as I know, they have not changed that policy yet. We're fortunate they allowed us to do Zooming.
That's what I thought. Is there options, or is there any more trainings and other divisions that are upcoming in the next few weeks? Because you would get credit if you attended one of those, right?
Correct. And I sent out today for District 26, there is another club officer training, and we are in the process of working with the district leaders and the new division directors to hopefully get another club officer training sometime in August here. So more to come. And Megan's been so great with us posting that on District 78 website. So I would encourage everyone to please look at the District 78 website to keep up to date with all the new postings. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that I can be able to get this recording on this training up to the district website. It's just sending out on all these emails.
Awesome. Well, with just a couple minutes left, I wanted to see if Hagen had any final comments to close us out.
What a great training. You know, I want to thank everybody who planned and organized and delivered. Jonathan, Kirk, Etienne, Greg, David, Diana, Stefan, Megan, Renee. So much went into the preparation for this and the delivery. But you know, I want to also thank all of the participants. I think we had nearly 100 people. What a great turnout. Toastmasters is all about learning from each other. And the participants attended and they contributed their wisdom and insight. And we're so grateful for that. Thank you all for attending. Any good training isn't just about learning. It's about what's going to change for you and your clubs. I'm excited for you to take this information back and apply it. So many good best practices. It's to the benefit of us and to our members. Thank you. Back to you, John.